So welcome everyone. My name is Susie Love. I'm the learning resource at Avanti Women. Welcome to our free webinar series. In our month of networking, we are delighted to have Dina Barazza, our founder and networking guru, present how to network at a networking event. At this point in time, I usually give you a little bit of background about Avanti Women, and not that I'm having stage fright, but I think I will leave that up to Dina when I turn it over to her, as it is her passion child, Avanti Women. But before I turn it over to Dina, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. I know Dina is extremely passionate and welcomes your questions at any time. If you want to stay on mute and chat questions to me, please do so, and I will pass them along to Dina. And if you prefer to listen and participate that way, I want to let you know that we'll be posting this on our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to re-watch this presentation at any point in time, webinar on demand on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, I turn it over to Dina, who can give us a little bit of background about Avanti Women and start this wonderful webinar about networking. Dina, please go ahead.
Great. Well, thanks, Susie, and I really appreciate the introduction, and welcome everyone on the call today. I am delighted to be speaking about not only Avanti Women, but about one of my passions, and that is networking. So the next hour is really dedicated to you, and it is my goal to share with you the wisdom and some tips and tricks to what we're going to learn about networking. So again, in terms of expectations, please use the feature to ask questions, and both Susie and I will moderate to help answer any of your questions, as I recognize some of you may be at work still and not being able to use the microphone. So what I'd like to cover today is some networking tips that will help build confidence and make an impression. Talk a little bit about how networking works both in person and with social media, and of course, discover new ways on how to network. So that will really kind of give us the framework for today. My goal as your guide is to communicate and of course share those new ways, and to give you a few tips and tricks for your bag. And when I meant your bag, I meant your shopping bag or your purse, and let's have some fun. So by far, that is my goal today as your guide. So as Susie had indicated, I'll talk a little bit about our mission. And really, we want to empower women. And how we do that is to ensure that we bring networking and mentoring and learning that always focuses on personal and professional development. So we always welcome your feedback for ideas or content. And, excited to say that, this year we'll be doing a wellness expo and a women in law event. So stay tuned for those details. So on the call, I think, Susie, there was a few people that may have joined because I heard the little ding ding. So some introductions. I'll start with myself. Me as Dina Barazza, I actually have a full-time job with the Talent Consortium, where I run a consulting practice in HR. My expertise is in learning and leadership, so I am considered a subject matter expert and was a professor for many years. I founded Avanti Women in 2014, and again, as Susie has indicated, this is definitely my passion. And we are an organization that really empowers women and wants to bring them resources and lots of development. So thank you for being a part of us and our movement today. In my spare time, I sit on 2 boards, and I am the board chair for the Coalition for Persons with Disabilities. So I am the voice for persons with disabilities, and I also contribute with the Canadian Cancer Society. Unfortunately, they stopped their programs around canvassing, but for 22 years, I knocked on doors and asked people to make donations. In fact, would always recommend to people that if you are looking to develop confidence or to become a good networker, doing volunteer work and something like canvassing really helped me overcome my fear around speaking to people. So especially asking for money. So it was lots of fun. So let's start with an actual foundation of what networking means, like a definition, because networking has a business component to it, a professional side, and it also has a social side, and that's that personal side. So we are networking when we are doing yoga, and we are networking when we are at work. So when I speak to networking, it really is interacting with people, a two-way conversation, and not networking in the sense of security or IT. And the idea about networking is also socializing, communicating with people that are like-minded, okay? And part of what we want to do is we want to have an ask at the end. There's a reason why we're networking, and that is either to share information, inform, or perhaps ask for a meeting face-to-face, or to sell a product or a service. So it is really a business opportunity. And Susie, I will lean on you as I'm in full screen, that I'm not able to see any of the questions come through. So I'll have you be my voice to let us know of the questions that come on in.
Absolutely, Dina, I will do that.
Thank you. So here's one of the things I'd like to set the stage around networking, and it really is a mindset, and that everyone, if you're looking for work, if you're new to the workplace, if it's starting that new job, you know, everyone is applying for the same job essentially. And so we have to find ways to stand out. And so we always want to make sure we do adhere to process. You know, most organizations have an applicant tracking system, and that's the system that they use to, you know, accept your resume. But still doing that, you could also find out who the hiring manager is, find out what some other interests are, go to networking events that you can network with recruiters. That's going to help you when you're doing networking when it's related to looking for a new job. Networking provides a competitive advantage. And I think a really great example of that is your LinkedIn. So if you look at your LinkedIn account, I'm assuming you have one, and if you don't, I hope you do. That would be a call to action from me to you. And you can look at your networks. And I know with my LinkedIn account, I have over 5,000 networks. So it really is a small world. And networking sometimes will help open that door to even just get you in for an interview. And again, networking is not always about just getting an interview. It's also about building that relationship. So my third point talks about creating, becoming an advocate for yourself. So when you're networking and letting people know who you are, they're going to say, hey, this person's articulate, this person's kind, and that's going to stand out. And the big bonus there for you when you're networking is to say, hey, if you think of something that comes along, please think of me. So I think that's where the opportunity for you when you're networking is to let people know, inform them that you are in the market, because they're not a mind reader. They don't know you're looking. And I would also draw your attention to being very articulate to what it is you're looking for, because people say, well, yeah, I'm looking for a manager role. Well, what does that mean? I'm looking for a manager role in a call center where I can use my bilingualism or I can use my bilingual skills. So for me, I believe that this is a skill that you can become better at and something that will continuously grow. And of course, network everywhere and every chance you get. I'm one of those people, I get in an elevator and I start talking to people, even when we go to dinner and sometimes even when I take the TTC. So, you know, I think that networking is a mindset that needs to be embraced with some positivity. I'm just going to do a temperature check. Are you hearing me okay? Am I loud enough? Am I too fast? So feel free to give some feedback to Susie and articulate how we're doing so I can gauge to go slower or faster.
I think it looks like all's good, Dina. No feedback.
All right.
Yep, we're good.
I take it. No problem. So my question is why? Why do we network, right? So like the what's in it for me, the with them. And well, number one, networking really helps you build confidence. I really do feel this, it is a life skill. It is a skill that you can use both personally and professionally. And why it builds confidence is the more you do it, the better you get at it. And you know, it really helps overcome your fear if you are afraid to speak in public. I love networking because it builds new friendships. I think of my 25 years just in my career, the friendships that I've been able to really build because of networking. Also, the potential business. You know, it may be someone that, whether you have a small business and you think, well, this person doesn't understand anything about, you know, the business I'm running, but you just don't know who they know, who they're related to, who their neighbor is. And that's what I love about the unknown, about networking. I really do believe you're just nice to everyone, you share your message, and that will open doors for you. It also builds your reputation. You want to be a professional, you want people to know who you are, and by networking and getting your name out there, helps you build your brand. What it also does, networking, is it brings you a promotion or brings you some job leads. And that is, again, you getting out there when you're networking and letting them know what it is you're looking for. This can increase revenue or leads and also give you some really great advice, especially when I think about mentorship. When I go out to network and I meet some wonderful people, I invite them to become mentors for Avanti Women. The one thing that I really love about networking as you're meeting people is that you're sharing your own information and you're gaining other knowledge, newfound knowledge. And when I look at Avanti Women and who we are as an organization, we are those lifelong learners, those women that want to be forward thinking, that get out there and ask for questions, and that just shows that we're always learning. And I think with regards to networking, not only are you going to get a job, it helps follow your dreams. And my last point is a little bit about my humor, find a husband or find a wife. And I think that's just very open-minded. Through networking, you will meet people. And, you know, through networking, I actually found my husband. And again, that wasn't in the cards. And what a beautiful gift, right? Out at a business event, someone goes, hey, let me introduce you to this guy. Richard, he's really nice. And the next thing you know, we got married. So networking has its benefits. So I would like for some of you to get engaged and participate. If you are not able to use the voice, please type in the comment section. How do you network today? So if you're at an event, I would love to hear from some of you. What are some of the things you are doing today to network? So Susie, I'll have you read off. I have full screen, so I'm not able to see the comments.
Everybody's being very shy, Dina.
Okay, Susie, I'm going to ask you. When you're at a networking event, you know, what's your approach? What are some of the things that you do?
So first of all, I'm not a great networker. And it's interesting that I end up working so closely with the guru of networking. And I think what I've learned is I introduce myself and try to be as authentic as I possibly can. And Rafaela saved me, and she says hello and makes small talk to people around her.
Yeah, excellent. Well, you both have really great approaches. Small talk is fantastic.
Smiling too.
Yeah, smiling is really great. Yeah, so depending if it's a personal or a professional event, you know, the small talk is really important because that really opens the door and it gives person the impression that you're open to speaking. And I really do love what you said, Rafaela, because smiling is really, it's that invitation. And so the intent here is to, regardless of what type of event, you know, I really hope that you're going in with an open mindset to say, what is it that I'm looking to achieve today? You're going in with a goal, and then now you got to go pursue it and get that goal. So I think this is a little bit on that mindset where you're going to say, I'm going to this event, and I'm going to make 3 new contacts. So there's a little bit of a feedback, so I'm not sure if that's you, Susie. Maybe you need to mute. But definitely it seems much clearer now, so thank you for that. So here's my question to everyone. I really do love to know if everybody is on LinkedIn. And if you are familiar with LinkedIn, one of the benefits of LinkedIn is even though you know 16 people, technically, you really know 256 people. 56 people. Yeah, so it seems like they call that a squared connection effect. So that is one of the value propositions actually of LinkedIn, and that is those 16 people can open doors to their 16 friends. It's kind of like that old Pert commercial where I used a certain shampoo and I told 2 friends and they told 2 friends, and by the end of the day, they have a whole new network of shampoo followers. So same type of event, and I really appreciate and endorse LinkedIn as a professional network because of their ability to help you network socially and then do that invitation to say, hey, let's meet for a coffee and build that face-to-face time. So any feedback or questions about LinkedIn? Again, a really great resource. For you to be working at your potential. And one of the questions that came in is you may not be using it to its full potential. And maybe that's a really great idea that maybe we can look at our speaker database to see if we can get a LinkedIn expert to come and share how we can best utilize it. So I'll leave that for you as an action item, Susie Love, because I think that's something that we could all benefit from. I personally, I like to put posts and read other people's articles and comments. I think that engages and makes people think about what's going on in their industry. So I will attend different forums. And again, when I meet people, the very first thing I do is, are you on LinkedIn? And then I ask for their permission. Would you be okay if I add you to my LinkedIn? And 9 out of 10 times they always say yes. And I would say often 1 out of 10 times, I'm surprised to hear someone say, I actually don't have a LinkedIn account. And then I find that very surprising. So I'll always encourage them to say, hey, maybe you should think about it because from a networking perspective, it's just one aspect. Okay, so there you go on LinkedIn. So how does one network? Yeah?
Sorry, I just sent a note to everybody that I can connect to them through LinkedIn, and perhaps they'd like to connect to you through LinkedIn. So I think, is that an appropriate way through something like a webinar?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely. We're still networking because we're still exchanging information. So I would invite everyone to add me to their LinkedIn. And of course, I'll be more than happy to accept. And just think, now you have access to 5,000 other people that you wouldn't have had this morning. So great suggestion, Susie. Thank you so much. I believe you and I are connected. So for all our guests today, please do join. And so my question was around how do we network socially? And for those that are on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest, those are personal networks. Even though some people will use them for business, when it comes to rule of thumb in business, what is deemed professional is LinkedIn and Twitter. So I always want to make sure there is a distinction. So if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see pictures of my dog and my garden and my husband. And then if you go to my professional network, which is LinkedIn or Twitter, you'll see statements or white papers or quotes, anything that's related to professionalism around, the areas that I'm focused on, whether it's HR by day and women empowerment by night and weekend. So really great opportunity for you to find different ways to find groups and different hubs where you can socialize with people. Another thing that I often recommend for people is to make sure that they also have their own, their own bio, their own write-up, somewhere where they can share with people who they are. So I took a print screen and shared with you a really phenomenal free website called branded.me. And what this does is it's like an online bio. So when you are applying for jobs or when you're introducing yourself to people or introducing others, rather than just using always just the LinkedIn profile, you could also give this as to say, here's a website about me and my credentials and my skill sets and my offerings. And really a great way to demonstrate professionalism. I'd be curious to learn from those who are on the call, are there other resources that you're using other than LinkedIn or Branded for Me that you have used or come across? So I'm open to hearing what you may have to share. Anybody?
Not yet. Let me see.
No worries. That's
great
okay.
idea, Dina. That Branded Me.
Yeah, it's great. It's like not necessarily a resume, but more like a bio. And I just think it just shows a different level of professionalism. So, for example, if you are a coach, an executive coach, you would probably want to have a website or something like a Branded Me to show people who you are, because we really only have 3 to 7 seconds to make an impression. So most of you by now would have said in 3 to 7 seconds, oh, I like what I'm hearing and I'm still on the call and I'm going to continue on with this conversation. So really important to make that first impression. So here are some do's and don'ts when it comes to networking, and a lot of this is going to sound like common sense, and you know, it's amazing because when I get out there to network, I find it really interesting how whether it's generational, whether it's male or female, or even if it's you know, people who've never really had to socialize before in a network, like in a new industry, I find it interesting how there is so many different perspectives on this. So
Dina,
I think the one thing you have...
Sorry, can I interrupt with a question? Because I think that might come into some of these networking do's. Someone has asked that they're looking for a job, but didn't want to go around on networking against asking for a job because it seems too direct. Will you cover this in some of the networking do's and don'ts?
Absolutely, and I'll actually address it right away because I think it's a very important question. So thank you for A, bringing the question, and B, I think you do want to be direct, because in the other person's mind, they're saying, I'm networking with this person, and the question is, you know, why am I networking? Like, what is it that what they want? So I would rather you be transparent and direct to say, oh, you know, I'm networking because I am looking for new work. Whether you're in a job or you're looking for work, I think you need to be transparent with people. They will appreciate it versus following up and then saying, okay, here's my resume. I think you want to have that conversation with them, so they're going to help direct you. Like, you know, you're going to build a connection with them. And when you build that connection with someone, they're really going to like you, to your point, Susie, around being authentic. And they're going to want to help you network. They're going to want to help you make some connections on LinkedIn and maybe send you links to different websites or people in that industry that can help you. So to my first point, when you meet someone, in your mind, what is it that you're going to be giving and what are you going to be getting? So, you know, how perfect. Your question came in at a very timely point, and that is, what is your reason to connect? And that's when earlier I always encourage people, when you're going to go to a networking event, you know, first of all, you want to bring lots of business cards. And in your mind, you should be saying to yourself, what is the goal for me today? Do I want to meet 3 people? Do I want to share a whole new resource? Like, you know, found this great organization, Avanti Women. Is that what I want to learn more about? What other women groups are out there? So I think it's important that you have in your mind, what is your goal? And, oh, do I want to meet, you know, 5 people or even just 2 new people? So you got to have that goal. And when you meet someone, what's in it for them and what's in it for you? So that's got to be very clear. I also want to make sure that you are dressing for success. You know, we are living in an age where people are a lot more casual. They're working from homes. And when they bring people together in the business environment, it's still business. So even if you're at a baseball game, it's still on business time. And that's what I mean by dress for success. when I go to networking events, I overdress, and I will make sure that people know who I am, because I don't want to ever be perceived as casual, because there is this conception that, you know, if you're wearing jeans, you're not professional. So when I look at my career being in human resources, that equates to I must always dress for success. So again, every industry will be a little bit different. When I think of, you know, some of my clients in technology, wearing jeans and a blazer is acceptable. What comes with dressing for success is also learning how to shake hands. So, you know, there is a history around why we shake hands, and that was, we really, if you go back to the centuries ago, it was about displaying your arms to show you don't have weapons. And so when you go shake hands, you are to maintain eye contact, and you are to, you know, grab the person in the hand and give them a light squeeze, not a heavy squeeze, and not like a whole shake of the arm, but just a squeeze of the hand. And it doesn't have to be more than 5 seconds, but you're definitely smiling, saying, nice to meet you. Oh, finally got to meet you today. This is great. And it's a very short interaction, 3 to 5 seconds, hands, you know, back to your side, and continue with the conversation.
Not like Donald Trump.
No, Donald Trump actually goes out of his way to, you know, either hold the arm when he's really trying to woo someone, and then sometimes he you know, he's an authoritarian. So for him, his style is to show I'm at command and I'm in control. So that doesn't work for a lot of people. So I think, you know, knowing your target audience is going to be another factor for you on how you approach your handshake. What's interesting is when you get a name tag, a lot of people think that it should go to the left side and over your heart. And the rule of thumb, or the etiquette rather, is really on the right side. Okay, so just if you have a name tag, those little stickies, that's where it's going. Another networking do is to ask for a business card. And sometimes what I do is when I give them my business card, I write a little note. Okay, so I write a little note like, looking forward to doing business together, or add me on my LinkedIn. So I do something for them to remember me by. And one of the things I do when I leave a networking event, I'll have a collection of cards, is sometimes I'll write mental notes about what we talked about, or what they were wearing. And so I asked the question to everybody on the call, why do you think I do that? Like, why do I need to write what they were wearing or elements of our conversation on that business card? What do you think the benefit is for me to do that?
I could make a guess.
Go for it, Susie.
I'm learning something new every day, and I work with you all the time. Joyce said to help you remember, and that's what I was going to say. And I was also going to say, maybe for follow-up, you make it more personal.
Yes, you're right. And it does help you remember, and it does make it more personal, because you know what? Yeah, it will really help you for sure. So very good. And then when you are networking.
Hi.
Oh, sorry.
It also makes you stand out.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Oh, we lost the screen. Did anybody else lose the screen?
Yes, I did.
Dina, we seem to have lost the screen. There we go. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, I appreciate those extra comments. Absolutely. They help you stand out. And also, you know, sometimes you don't remember the next morning. And because it's fresh, you want to make those notes, because my next tip is also to follow up within 48 hours. There's no sense sending an email from 2 weeks ago saying, hey, it was great to meet you 2 weeks ago, because that person has, you know, moved on, and you'll need to have a good memory recall. So I like to make my emails a little bit personal. So it was like, hey, it was really great to talk about the Blue Jay game. And so I think that is also another trigger for you to help build rapport when you're networking, because it's really important that you do stand out.
Hi, Gina. I have a question about the business cards. In this digital age where a lot of people don't necessarily have physical business cards, do you have any recommendations around digital business cards or apps that you could use to help share your information with someone from a business card perspective if they don't have a physical business card?
Yeah, so great question. I would also look at sending them your LinkedIn profile as a link, a hyperlink. Like when you look at people's signatures, you'll see their name, their logo, their contact information, and then all the social medias that they're actually aligned to. So that is somewhat your digital card, if I may. But in theory, most people that are doing business through the internet still have a business card. So when I follow up with a thank you card, I may also put in my business card. In fact, I always give 2 business cards because I'll ask them, one for them and for them to also pass it along to someone who may want to use it or may benefit from my product or service. So great question. And I think it comes with your signature. So that would be the answer in short. Another suggestion is when you are in person and having a conversation and looking to network is, have you heard about? Everybody has a gift. Everybody comes from a culture or an upbringing or an experience that has something positive. So it'd be great to open up with something that you're excited and you're passionate about. So have you heard about, what they're doing with dogs? So if the one thing you want to know about Dina is I have 3 dogs and I'm a huge dog lover. So, you're going to get my attention and we're going to start to build a conversation around dogs. And another trick is to actually use their name in the conversation because there are statistics that show you don't remember people's names. So if you quickly say, hey, Susie, thanks for joining the call today, I'll remember to thank Susie at the end. So if you can somehow use it in the sentence or when you're asking them a question, it will help reinforce that you're building that that relationship as well. As I mentioned earlier, you want to follow up within 48 hours, send a follow-up email, send a LinkedIn request. And for those that are looking for jobs, you may want to go for a coffee and have that FaceTime and say, I'd love for you to look at my resume. And also be open to who you may recommend that I speak to in your network. I really appreciate your time today. And if you think there's someone that could use my skills, do you mind connecting me? Okay. You also want to file that business card or however you want to. Actually, I have like a paperclip based on every month, and I keep track of all the business cards. And I also I put in my schedule in my calendar a follow-up date, usually within 3 months. And I do that if I can 4 times a year so they don't forget who I am. Or just to kind of advise them about, this is coming up and that's in their industry. Again, we always want to ask people if we can add them to LinkedIn and find ways to nurture your relationship. And what I really love about nurturing the relationship is when you're building a rapport with someone, you're getting to know them about what makes them tick, what their passion is, what they like to do for fun. And I think it's important, the more that you learn about someone, it shows that you're listening and that you're authentic and that they want to surround themselves around you. And so why wouldn't they want to help you when it comes to times when, you're looking for work per se? So those are some of the do's. And if you've got anything to add, please feel free to also add that on to Susie in the conversation, and we will definitely share with the rest of the group. When it comes to approaches around networking, there's really 4 different approaches. One being direct. Hey, I'm Dina and I'm looking for a new job. There's situational, and this is kind of that icebreaker, that kind of warm up where you're saying, oh, I really love those shoes, or, did you see American Idol last night? So those are kind of situational, or, hey, the keynote speaker was fantastic, so that is another approach. And the third is an opinion opener. How about those Leafs? Or did you see the latest version of Game of Thrones? So I do caution around opinion openers because that sometimes could be offensive to some people. So again, I always like to stick to things that are more situational, like the weather. And then as you start to build on that conversation and probe more and learn about the other individual's preferences, then you'll know how to gauge your conversation. And the last networking approach is something called an elevator speech. And one of the things I'd love to know is, you know, everyone here on the call, how many of you actually have an elevator speech? You want to just give us an idea? Okay, so I know some of you are shy, and that's okay. And an elevator speech, sometimes known as an elevator pitch or statement, what it does is it's a short summary. Oh, thanks, Joyce. I appreciate you sharing. And that's great that you have two, because you really should have one for business, and you should really have one for personal. And the purpose of the elevator speech is really, it's a short summary to really kind of share who you are and what you're offering, okay? And the premise of this was, hey, if you were to be in an elevator with the president and you had 30 seconds to tell somebody about yourself, what would that look like? So I always think it's important that you do have a few prepared, because there will be different situations where it's not always about business. Maybe it's just about being your authentic, true self. So when you are creating a pitch, make sure that you do actually have a little bit of a structure. And this is what this particular feature is sharing is, you know, who is it for? What is it about? What is the benefit? And then again, what is the ask? So at the end, are you asking them for more time? Are you asking them for their feedback? Or are you asking them to join your LinkedIn? I'm also happy to share with you my recipe for success and my elevator speech, because I find that this is a really great way for people to also open up, because as you are being transparent and, you know, displaying trust to say, here, this is what you want to know about me, I'm opening up the door for them to see where there's some type of not only likeness, but also a comfort. So I always like to talk about being a lifelong learner. And one of the things I love to do is just to share my information. And for those that know me, Avanti Women, you know, is my passion. This is my legacy, and I'm getting to live it. So I want to share that with you, and I'm very thankful for that. And then what I normally do is talk a little bit about my background, you know, 25 years in HR, and I've been a proven solution provider, and that I'm able to woo and get to results very quickly. And then I share a little bit about my skills, and that is my natural ability to nurture a network and mentor and instruct in a very positive way, so that way I can get to results. And then I always like to put a little bit of a flavor or spice, if I may, and I put in there that I'm a culinary queen, and I have a secret, and that is I'd love to be an opera singer. I really can't sing. However, I just would love to sing opera one day, and that I have a one-of-a-kind shoe collection.
Oh, come on. So give us a few bars.
No, Susie, I really would love to learn. When I watch people sing on The Voice and American Idol, I just wish I could do that. It's just, I accept that it's not natural for me, and I'll focus on my other gifts. So it's okay. So in the secret and in the shower, I do belt it out, and my dogs join in, but it doesn't sound very pretty. So, you know, and that opens the door for some great conversation. Oh, you like to cook? Oh, you like opera? Oh, and I'm an opera subscriber. So I'm like, really? Tell me, what's your favorite opera? So, you know, you're building those connections, and that's the elevator speech. You want to give somebody a highlight to let them know who you are, what do you do, and, you know, what's in it for me? Like, you know, why do I want to be a part of your tribe type thing? So, again, and you would alter this based on your current needs. Again, if you're looking for work or you're looking to build your product or service. So here are some things about business cards, and you know, they really are old school, but it still happens. You know, I do a lot of business online, and again, one of the things that I do to make it personal is I send a thank you card, and I send them my business card. So you want cards to stand out, and when I say stand out, I'm not saying they're dirty or they're too big. You still want to keep with the traditional. You also want to keep it handy. Nothing worse than digging through your purse or your briefcase trying to find out your card. You know, you want to put it in a spot that's on the outside pocket or in your sleeve or in a pocket in your pants or something. You want to maybe handwrite a message, you know, add me on LinkedIn. And when I say hand out several, I mean hand out 2 of them, especially if you're promoting a business. You say, hey, you know, my husband has a catering business. If you think that you could benefit from this, have 2 cards. When you receive someone else's business cards, you really want to look at it because you're going to say, oh, yeah, really pretty. You want to make a comment. You want to compliment it. You want to follow up, and the key there is to follow up within 48 hours. And then you want to find some networking partners to say, you know, who else can I be networking with? You know, you've been in this industry for a long time. You know, what is your expertise on that? When you're sending out letters or promotional items, you also want to make sure that business card is actually attached to the correspondence. I got to be a really interesting tidbit for you. You know, someone sent me an email, and we're going back and forth, and they had a couple of names on there. So when we had set up our network meeting, I said, could you identify with me, who am I meeting with, Sandy or is it Clara, because you had both names. And she goes, oh, I apologize, I'm the Sandy lady. And I said, oh, that's great, because it wasn't clear. So, you know, it's important that you identify the name, because that is really aligned to your identity. And when you are doing business cards, some people actually put that brand me that I shared with you earlier, or their LinkedIn link, or a website link. So again, if you do have a website link, do put it on your business card so people can do more research around who you are and what your background is. So earlier we talked about the handshake, and again, I just want to articulate that it's not the fish. And what I mean by the fish is some people will kind of use just the fingertips and just touch the other people's fingertips. And this is a proper handshake. Again, not too hard, not too firm, but just enough to make an impression. And at the same time, you're making eye contact and also saying, you know, nice to meet you, or even just giving a smile. Just some basic etiquette. You'll appreciate this. Earlier I was talking about even if you're at a networking event for work, it's still considered business. And so you'll see some people having some beer here, and it looks like they're doing a little bit of a chug contest. I just want to remind you that, you know, rule of thumb is, if you can, try not to have any alcohol, and if so, no more than 2 glasses of whatever, beer or wine. And that is for your own protection. You know, you don't want people to think that there's anything more to it. So it is socially accepted to have a glass of wine. However, rule of thumb when it comes to business etiquette, you don't want to be getting, you know, sloshed or over drinking or getting to a point you're going to say things that you might regret. And the other one is also, you know, this, you know, they're on the subway and this person is raising their hand and this poor lady has to be there. I think there's some, we've all been in situations where, you know, that's like, is that me? Or is that, what's going on here? So I think you just want to be cautious around, you know, your appearance as well. So this gentleman may not have been aware and would have recommended that he keep his arm down or find a seat on the TTC. So here are some other basics when it comes to networking. Oh, I see, yes, Joyce, thank you. Nothing wrong with asking for ginger ale, and also I love club soda with lime, and sometimes I'll ask them to put it in a wine glass just so it feels like I'm socializing. But again, you know, there's nothing wrong with you having an actual alcoholic drink. I just caution because a lot of people, you know, they have their own judgments, and we want to try to eliminate any type of biases so that way they don't pre-qualify us. As I mentioned, within 3 to 7 seconds, they've already painted a picture of you. So here are some basics that we always forget about, and that is just the thank you, please, or excuse me. Listen with focus, give them eye contact, nod your head, avoid interrupting. So you may have some questions and then say, oh, I've got a list of questions, so I'll just kind of have a little running summary in my mind. You know, summarize what they said and say, so what I hear you saying is you're working a lot of hours and now you're looking for more work. You know, keep an open mind. And then also, we want to be very respectful. And, you know, we all come from different backgrounds, and that's the beauty of Toronto, you know, GTA, right? We've got so much diversity. We've got so much to learn from each other. And we also want to be very cautious around offending people with different cultures. So here's some social media's do's. We want to be professional. We want to be clear and succinct. We want to be social, ask questions. You know, what are you doing this long weekend? And here's another tip. Complete your profile. So many people on LinkedIn and on Facebook actually don't complete their profile. So if you are a recruiter, they want to learn as much as they can about your background. And for those that are avid networkers, you also want to look at people's backgrounds, like, oh, where they went to school, where they used to live, because then that's another way for you to find an area where you can build a relationship. To say, oh, you grew up in Mississauga. So did I. What high school did you go to? Okay, so, and for those that are looking to do more business, you know, rule of thumb is to do 3 to 5 posts a day. So again, you may have a social media strategy, and if you're looking for one, let us know. We've got some fantastic volunteers at Avanti Women that are looking for some work and to really help you with your social media. So those are the things that are going to help. I don't recommend that you do on social media, hey, looking for work, just got canned. What you want to do is, you know, I'm in transition, would be a politically correct word, and say, you know, I'm seeking a change in my career. So here are some don'ts around networking. We don't want to give out dirty cards, and we also don't want to speak negative. Oh, you know, I don't like Coca-Cola. I prefer Pepsi because, you know, I don't like their CEO. I think it's really important when it comes to a networking environment, you always want to keep it positive or don't say anything at all, because that's really going to reflect badly on you, especially if you're looking for someone to recommend you for some future work. You also don't want to get too personal. Oh, I'm going through a divorce and he cheated on me and now I have 4 kids and I don't know how I'm going to make it. Like that's pretty deep. So I think you want to keep it very light. The other thing that I also find really embarrassing for people is, you know, the one that hands out business cards to everybody. And what you really want to be doing is be selective with who gets your business cards. So I think as you work the room, you want to get to know people and then be cautious with who you're giving your business card to, because that is really part of your identity. You also want to manage your alcohol intake and recommend that swearing is not appropriate in a business environment, especially when you're networking, and just making sure that the jokes that you may be referencing are professional in nature. You want to talk about some small talk and also not do too much promotion. Well, I won this award and when I did this and when I blah, blah. So, you know, people start to tune out. So watch that nonverbal communication, look at their eyes, read their body language. What is their arms doing? Does their neck look tense? Are they smiling? That's going to give you an indicator if you're talking too much. So I think that's important to just be aware. And one of my other pet peeves, I think, when it comes to networking is people say, oh, yeah, I'll call you, and then they don't call you. And then when you follow up, you know, they're just not good at following up. So I think that is an indication you know, around the person's follow-through and maybe their desire not to want to network with you, which is okay. So I think there was another question that came in, so I'm sorry, I was looking at the screen and didn't catch the question. I have spicy language.
That's
yes,
me.
It's a no-no. Can you tell?
That's me.
What do you mean by spicy language?
That's me, Dina.
What do you mean by spicy language?
Well, you know,
like bad words?
Yes. And it's not good.
Well,
that's me.
I'm going to wash them off with soap.
I have learned so much today, and I wish I could have kept myself on so you could hear me chuckling. Anyways, I'm going to clean up my spicy language, so no soap. Thank you very much.
No soap for you, but you know, it's an impression. So, you know, here's a famous quote: "You don't have a second chance for a first impression." So this is really important because what people need to really understand is within 3 to 7 seconds, they have made, you know, a description in their mind of who you are. So I think it's important that, you know, when we open, it's that smile, hi, you know, and that's going to really help. I just noticed that someone came in with a swear jar. So yeah, that's a great idea. So thank you for that. Some quick things on some social media. Caution around too many likes, because then you like everything. Too many emails, because you're starting to over spam. Too many hashtags, that can become annoying. And I think one of the things that people always apologize with a disclaimer around the spelling. However, the spelling can also come across as very unprofessional. So when it comes to networking, sometimes you can be your own barrier. And what I love about networking is they don't know you. So there's no precedent, there's no benchmark. So you can say anything and it'll be okay, because they just don't know it. And that's what I mean by that comment around fake it till you make it. And that's what I learned very quickly in my career. Sometimes you just don't have the answers, and you can just say, let me look into that and I'll get back to you. That is the best way to build credibility, because you're not lying, and you're also going to make sure you do your due diligence and get back to them with the right answer. So sometimes people just don't know what they don't know, and that's okay. So one of my favorite tags is, I'm afraid of networking. Don't let them know. They don't have to know that. So here's another recommendation. Know your strengths, right? You have to get out there and make an impression, stand out. So you have to know what your strengths are. And I'm going to recommend a really great book. It's on the next slide, because once you know what your strengths are, this book identifies your strengths. You can use that in your elevator speech. You can let people know is, hey, I did this really great assessment and I just learned these are my skills that I'm really great at, and that's why I'm looking to change careers. Get a business coach, get a mentor, have an accountability partner, seek out a sponsor. So in companies, your boss cannot be your mentor. So you may want to get a sponsor. So someone in another department who sees that you have potential, that's always going to say, I want that person on my planning committee, right? And don't be afraid to look into a course on presentation skills or a Toastmasters. Those are phenomenal courses that can really help you stand out. Okay, earlier I talked about this book called Strengths Finder. It's called Now Discover Your Strengths. What I love about those books, and especially if you're unemployed, you can buy this book online and it comes with an assessment, and it identifies your top 5 skills. So mine are communication, positivity, self-assured, the ability to woo or to influence, and to activate. So get me going on a project, I'm going to get it going. So when I go pitch business for my other business, I'll make sure that I highlight these core skills in my ability to be the right source for them to partner with. So you should be doing the same, especially when you're in an interview, because number one, it shows, hey, this person is still learning. They're going out there, they're reading. Most HR people know who Tom Rath or Marcus Buckingham, they're the 2 guys that wrote this book. And then it shows that you're able to apply what you're learning, about your skills and applying it to your interview by saying, these are my skills and my gifts, and this is how I can apply it on the job. So that is a big win if that's a helpful point for you. And make sure that you are able to answer the question why we should hire you, and I think that book will also help you answer that story. Another book that I recommend is The Elements of Persuasion by Robert Dickman, and it talks about how to do storytelling. And stay tuned, because Avanti Women, we do storytelling all the time. We have some phenomenal guest speakers. So stay tuned, check out the calendar, and we'll let you know when we've got more storytelling coming. But this is a really great way how to either sell a business pitch or how to sell yourself for a job. So one of the action items I'm going to be leaving you with today is to think about setting yourself some goals. So usually in January, we do a lot on visioning and, your goals for the year. So if you're familiar with the acronym SMART, that can be applied to your visioning, and that is to set some goals for yourself. And really, at the end of the day, if we don't set a goal, then how do I know where I'm growing if I have nothing to measure it? So I think it's really important. So some key points as we close off: to build your network through nurturing. So, reach out to them every quarter. If you can, go for a coffee, write down those notes based on your conversation. So you're asking, how your kid's doing, how things are changing. Did you get that job? You want to ask them about families. And, everybody in your network is someone that you can network. So not just family and friends, but past employers, different professional associations, alumni, going to conferences, any type of training, and volunteer work is perhaps one of the best way to build your network, because you're going to have access to people that you wouldn't in your business or your professional arena. So definitely consider doing some volunteer work. So in conclusion, you know, I want you to think about what are those methods today that we brainstormed and talked about will help you. Work on your elevator speech. It's something that you can continue to improve. Do invest in some business cards and find ways to find a mentor. And hopefully today you've got a new bag that you can put a trick in.
Well, thank you, Dina. I learned so much, and I get to talk to you all the time, so that was wonderful. And now you've got some exciting news for us.
Well, yeah, so just before I do that, is there any other questions that this group might have? And as those questions come in, the last thing I'd love to share with you, a great networking opportunity, is July 14th. We're having our Wellness Expo at Riverside Retreat, so just an hour north of Toronto. And the day is going to be full of mind, body, and soul, great networking, 200 women, and we're offering a special incentive. So if you're interested in doing some die-hard networking and building your repertoire around wellness, please join us. And really, I just want to thank everybody for their time, and I'll turn it over to you, Susie, if you've got any more questions or wrap-up, I'd like to do that.
I don't see anybody else, but I must tell you that, there was a comment that someone's going to be on vacation, so they won't be able to attend. But I think it was a very great networking speech, and it never ceases to amaze me that I learn something new every day and get a good chuckle, and I guess that's what we're supposed to do. And wanted to remind people that we will be posting this on our YouTube channel if you need to refresh your memory, because there was a lot of great information that was presented. So no more questions. Please check out Avanti Women to see upcoming events, not just the wellness event, and look for this YouTube recording. And Dina, once again, thank you so very much. Anybody else?
No, thank you. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to sign off now.
Okay, bye-bye.